thank you for coming and for staying for this class. We're going to have, I'd like to give a 1 hour explanation of a very important part of Yoganandaji's teaching and of his legacy and of a great contribution that he has made to humanity. Earlier this morning, I was talking about the 3 blessings, the 3 great blessings. And remember, the first one is to have a physical body. Now, as long as we're alive, we have a physical body. And Yoganandaji gives us the guidelines for how to take care of our body, but also how to maintain the body in a state of high energy, of high prana, how to keep it free from disease, how to keep it ever young and vital, because it requires a lot of vital energy for us to lead our daily lives, and even more if we want to combine God realization with our daily life. Yogananda wrote to Swami Kriyananda some few guidelines, and I believe the letter actually appears in Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, his autobiography of a Western yogi. And Yoganandaji wrote to him saying, have 3 meals every day, sleep 6 or 7 hours, and exercise for at least 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about many of these things, but I want you to know how important physical health is to our spiritual path. In Guruji's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, the longest part of his commentary is on the first chapter. He wrote a lot, probably, I don't know, some thousands of pages. Almost 25% of what Yoganandaji wrote on Bhagavad Gita is about the first chapter of the Gita. And a good portion of that is, he talks about the battles of life, what we have to fight against. And he said the first battle of life that we have is with our physical body. And Guruji says that it is of utmost importance to maintain the body in a state of health. For those who practice Kriya Yoga, we are given the instruction not to practice when we are seriously ill. Yoganandaji wrote in his lessons on Kriya Yoga that in order to practice Kriya properly, one needs to be in good health. One needs to be robust, which is not to say if you're not in robust health, you should not practice your Kriya. But he's encouraging us to really, as he said, keep the body temple fit for God realization. And Yoganandaji wrote a lot about all aspects of health and self-healing, of what we can do for ourselves. I've asked to be printed for you, and I have here an excerpt of one of his original lessons from 1925 about the daily diet. Okay, just to give you an idea of the things that Yoganandaji recommends just on the dietary level. Today, we're going to be talking about prana, or what Yogananda called life therapy. When Yogananda talked about life therapy, he was referring to the effect of the energization exercises on the body cells. Yoganandaji says that our body, as we know, is comprised of cells which are comprised of molecules which are comprised of electrons and protons and neutrons. But Yoganandaji speaks to us of a finer energy that goes beyond the electron, neutron, and proton, which he called life-tron. Isn't that fascinating? He created many words, and this is one of them, and perhaps one of the most significant life-trons, which means pulsations of prana, pulsations of energy. Now, you all know about prana, so I don't think I need to go into a very deep explanation of it. But prana is the invisible energy that maintains this entire creation. The creation was made based on the first cosmic sound, which is the pranava, the sound of prana, the vibration of prana. It's all about prana. This whole universe is a manifestation of prana and akash. So substance and energy. So Shakti is an expression or an embodiment of prana. Prana is pure, unlimited power. And prana is not conditioned. It's not dependent on what we eat or what we don't eat, whether we sleep or not, whether we live in a hot or cold climate. Prana goes beyond. And Yoganandaji developed a system by which we can vitalize or pranasize, we can say, every cell in our body. Every cell is alive. Every cell in our body, and Yoganandaji said there are 84 billion cells. He also gave other numbers, but the point is there's a lot of cells in our body. And when we experience disease, or sickness, it happens at the cellular level because the cells are not receiving what they need, and they begin to that's not the word. I'm sorry. I'm starting to think in Italian. This degenerate. There we are. The cells begin to degenerate if they are not supplied with pure energy. Now, the energy with which we supply our body normally is not entirely good for us. For example, where do we get most of our energy? Food. How good is our food these days? Compared to food 100 years ago. Food is polluted. Water is polluted. We all know that air is polluted. This whole world is polluted. So when we think that we can nourish our body only with food, with water, and with air, we won't have robust health. Okay? We are taking in pollution all the time. Now, pollution comes not just from our environment, pollution comes from our mind as well. There are thoughts which pollute our being. And you know what those are. Thoughts of anger, intolerance, thoughts of jealousy, of fear, and so forth. Every thought has a reaction. It has a result. Everything has a result. This is what karma is about. Karma is created at the mental level. Our thoughts create karma. When we combine action with thought, the karma is stronger. But if we have a thought and never act on it, there's still karma. Because every thought creates a reaction in our body, in our entire body. All of our organs, internal organs, are dependent upon our thoughts, all of them. Our stomach, intestines, liver, kidneys, and so forth. So we have pollution from the outside that's happening, and we have pollution from the inside that's happening. Plus, we have past karma that conditions our health. So this might seem to be somewhat discouraging. It's like, how can I live beyond the age of 30? with all of these detrimental factors. And that's why, one of the reasons, that Yogananda brought to us life therapy, helping us to understand that there is a source of energy that does not depend on external factors. It does depend on internal factors, for sure, because the switch of prana is our willpower. And we'll discuss that a little more. So life trans is pulsations of pure energy that enter into our body, as we know from Master, through the medulla oblongata. Okay. This was the first point. This is the chakra, this Ajna chakra that has two rays. So it's the Ida and the Pingala. So the prana enters us at this point and is distributed in the body thanks to our concentration and our willpower. Now this is happening unconsciously all the time, and it's not happening effectively. We are not getting the energy that we need, either from our foods, our thoughts, our environment, our friends, or even the prana that is available. So Yogananda brought this science that he called energization or life therapy. There was the thought that was just traveling through. Let me see if I can catch it. It'll come back. There's a saying, I don't know if you have the same saying here. It's an ounce of, you know what an ounce is? Yes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It doesn't make sense to you. It does? Yes? Okay. So it's better to prevent something than have to deal with it after it happens. Oh, there's another saying. Oh dear.
Prevention is better than cure.
What?
Prevention is better than cure.
Prevention is better than cure. There's another very obscure problem. That's it. Who said that? You? A stitch in time saves 9. Do you know that? You know. So if something begins to tear, something begins to go wrong, and you catch it right there, you can save yourself from a big tear. Now, big sicknesses don't start out being big. They started being little. It could be a little headache, it could be irritation, anger, it could be a digestive problem or whatever it is. When we don't deal with it, say, oh, it will go away, my body will take care of it. If we don't deal with it, it could get worse and worse and worse. So let's come to life therapy. With life therapy, meaning the energization exercises, practiced the way Yoganandaji intended for them to be practiced, which is not mechanically, which is not fast, but which is consciously, with concentration, and with full power. The practice of the energization exercises affects every cell in the body immediately. Immediately. It changes the composition of the cellular structure of our body. Consider that. This is what Yoganandaji says. It changes the structure from protons, electrons, and neutrons into life-trons, or light-trons. Yogananda says that when we energize properly, we change the body cells into light. What we're doing is purifying, detoxifying, and nourishing every body cell every time we practice the energization. It is the best detox that we can possibly do. And when it's done, again, properly, and when it's done regularly, our body cells remain vital. If karmic bombs come, and of course they do, we can't prevent karma from coming, but we can strengthen our aura, our magnetic field, so that when a karma comes, it could possibly just bounce off of us if our magnetic shield is vibrating at a higher rate than the karma coming to us. Let's say that a karmic bomb is coming your way and it has a power of 7. Just imagine that. And if your aura, if your magnetic field is at 3 at that moment, what's going to happen? You're going to get sick or you're going to get overwhelmed, no matter what level. It could be a financial karmic bomb, a relationship, or a health bomb, whatever it is. So if it's coming at 7 and you're at 3, no contest. But what if your shield is at 9 and a karmic bomb comes at 7? You will be affected, but minimally so. And if it's at 10 or 12 or 20, because there's no limit. Prana has no limit. It's not just 1 to 10. Prana is 1 to a billion. Karma is energy, that's all it is. It's energy. We know that. Energy that we have put into motion in the past, through thoughts, through actions, or through thoughts combined with actions. And every energy has a charge. It has a specific charge to it. When our energy field has a higher charge, we will not be so influenced. So the thought came back. Our body cells at the current moment, right now as we're sitting here, every cell already contains prana, but it's dormant. Our body stores prana, just like it stores carbohydrates and stores fats and so forth. On a spiritual level, our electric body stores prana. Yoganandaji said that just 1 gram of flesh, and he would pinch his skin. So Swami would told us, he would say, 1 gram of flesh contains enough power to maintain a city with electricity for a whole week. Think about that. That's a lot of power. Some decades ago, in California, near the University of Stanford, there is this large machine called an accelerator. Okay, it's like the chair in Switzerland. You know what it is? It accelerates microscopic particles until they explode. They're trying to find the God particle in the moment of the Big Bang and so forth. Okay. So they put, way at the beginning of their experimentation, they placed a human cell in the accelerator, and they accelerated it until it exploded, and they measured it at 1,000 times the power of the sun. An atomic bomb, what's an atomic bomb? It's an atom. So think about the power, the energy that's within this human body. And that's why it's a blessing to have a human body, especially when we learn the technique, the blessing of the true teaching and the true guru of how to release this energy. So life therapy helps us to release the energy that's already within our body, release in the sense of making it available, and how to draw more energy, more prana into the body and direct that energy where we want, where it's needed. let me repeat again, when we energize properly and constantly, every day, we are effectuating a detoxification, a purification, and a complete nourishment of all of our body cells. We are renewing our organs. Now, science knows that body cells don't remain, the same cell doesn't remain in your body forever. There is a constant rejuvenation of body cells. It's just like skin. You see that skin, gets dry, it sloughs off, and new skin cells. Well, this is the case with all of the cells in our body. They're born, they live, they die, and other ones are born. Science says that the very longest time it takes is 7 years. There are many cells that rejuvenate very quickly, and some, I don't know which ones, take 7 years. They used to think that this did not apply to the brain cells, that the cells we have in our brain at birth are the ones we keep forever. And that's not true. And science has discovered that it is not true, that the brain cells can also be rejuvenated and replenished and replaced, and it's important for us to do that. Now, Yoganand talked about psychological antiques. You've heard that? Have you heard that phrase?
Yes.
What does it mean to you? What's a psychological antique?
Person who doesn't want to change.
Exactly. Someone who doesn't want to change. This is the way I am. This is the way I think. These are my habits. This is what I like, and so forth. And I'm not going to change. So that we become rigid. And when we do, the body is affected. Again, everything we think and everything we do has an influence on the body. Now, beyond the physical, even if we're, a Vedantin, a yogin, and we don't care about the body at all, it still requires millions of times more energy than we currently have in order to find God. Remember that story of the disciple of Yogananda? I think it was Dr. Lewis, but I'm not sure. He was always asking Master for samadhi. Master, please, just touch me somewhere and let me have samadhi. And Yogananda just kept saying no, 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 no. And one day Dr. Lewis found Master in a room and he put him in a corner. And he said, I'm not going to let you go until you give me samadhi. And Yogananda looked right into his eyes and began to send that current of energy. And Doctor's body began to shake, literally to tremble from head to toe. And Yogananda said, you see, Doctor, you can't take it. You can't take it. Through life therapy, meaning through the energization exercises and through the practice of Kriya Yoga, we build up the strength of the physical body and the electric body, the astral body, the astral nerve system, so that the body can take the experience of higher consciousness. So this is part of our spiritual path, it's part of our sadhana, and it has many benefits for daily living. Yogananda wrote a booklet in 1923 and again in 1925 about the benefits of the energization exercises. And he gave pages of benefits, pages that include the obvious things, meaning they improve our metabolism, our circulatory system, our immune system, and strange things like they improve the voice. You can either lose or gain weight doing the energization exercises. That's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, how does it know whether you should gain or lose? But it's the metabolism. Because with the energization exercises, we regulate the metabolism. We create harmony in the body. You know, so much of our life is disharmonious. Is that a word, disharmonious, not harmonious? It's all messed up these days. I mean, we don't follow the natural rhythms anymore due to the kind of life that we have, the frenetic life that we have, the rhythm of our life, and again, the pollution and so forth. So the energy within our body is unbalanced. And we see so much mental imbalance. Imbalance, that's the word, don't we, in the world. I mean, really, I mentioned it this morning. People are getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And, yes?